Top 5 electric cars in the world. 5. Honda e. It's the urban EV concept that became a legend, the legend that became a prototype, and the prototype that became the dinkiest, most desirable car since the Suzuki Jimny. It's the Honda e, Honda's first mass-market, pure electric car. Yes, Honda dabbled with the EV Plus in 1997, but only around 350 of those were ever built, and we want one. Honda clearly isn't going Tesla chasing with this one. The dimensions are Fiat 500 plus a bit wider than a Jazz, but actually narrower when you take into account it has no wing mirrors. This is very much an urban runaround. A range of 137 miles means you won't want to stray too far from town, but a choice of 134 bhp and 152 bhp versions, both with decent performance, especially up to 30 miles per hour, a chassis that's been shown some of Honda's handling love, and a configurable driving experience mean it's not out of its depth if you fancy a proper drive, and have the battery to spare. Cheap the Honda e is not. While Honda has kept the dimensions in check and battery to a compact 35.5 kWh, the price starts at a notably juicy £26,160 for the base car, rising to £28,660 for the higher-powered, higher-spec advance model. And those both include the £3,500 government grant. So, to justify prices that eclipse the much larger VW ID.3, Honda hasn't held back with the technology. If only. As standard, you get cameras for wing mirrors and the rear view mirror, 100 kilowatts DC rapid charging capability in 30 minutes, an app to precondition the car and babysit it while it charges, many crash avoidance systems, including auto braking, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, auto high beam headlights, and several acres of screen. And all this wrapped in a subtly retro color and material palette designed to chime with the cheeky exterior, available in white, black, gray, blue and highlighter yellow paint. The Honda e arrives riding a wave of new small, affordable EVs, at last broadening the choice beyond the longer range, but more premium and pricey stuff like Tesla's, the Jaguar I-Pace and Audi e-tron. Honda is up against the new Peugeot e-208, and its sister car the Corsa e, the Mini Electric, Fiat 500 Electric and the Renault Zoe, and banking on customers seeing past its chunky price and skinny range, and buying with their hearts not their heads. Honda's first electric car is impossibly cute, beautifully engineered and crammed with tech, but you'll pay for it. Far be it for Top Gear not to recommend the most powerful model available, but here we'd be inclined to go for the entry-level car. Not only are the performance gains negligible, but so much of the kit, the interior screens, the wing mirrors, the seat trim, is standard that we'd save the £2,500, do without the rear view display, parking assist. Honestly, how crap is your parking if you can't safely navigate a car this size into a gap, and sound system upgrade? Whichever version you pick, the Honda e has two rather glaring drawbacks: the limited range and chunky price tag. Honda is rolling the dice here, that customers will get what I'm going to call Suzuki Jimny syndrome and fall so deeply in love with the car that they'll see past its pitfalls. In fairness, Honda isn't shying away from the 137-mile range, calling it a conscious decision to spend money on the tech and only fitting it with a battery suited to a car of this size. As one engineer eloquently put it, if you want to make an iPhone, why would you design an iPad just to get a bigger battery in there? Truth is, we all want greater range from our EVs, but let's be realistic, do we need it? Would we rather pay the same money for a car that's less exciting, less well equipped, but with another 50 miles of range? No, I probably wouldn't. It's an urban car, you need to plan to use it as such, and if you did need to get somewhere 300 miles away in a hurry, then you either need to rent something suitable or treat that journey like the anomaly it is and plan a two-stop rapid charge strategy. 4. Audi e-tron GT. This is the Audi e-tron GT, the sister car to the Porsche Taycan, based on the same VW Group J1 platform and containing much of the same technology, albeit wrapped in an extremely sharp suit. It's not the first pure electric Audi, of course, that title goes to its ever-growing lineup of e-tron SUVs, but it's definitely the most exciting. There will be two versions of e-tron GT, initially at least, the entry-level e-tron GT Quattro and the full-fat Rs e-tron GT. Yup, this is also the first electric Audi to wear the Rs badge. Both have a motor at either end for four-wheel drive, both have the same two-speed gearbox as the Taycan on the rear axle to maximize acceleration off the line, but also elevate efficiency at higher speeds, and both feature a 93 kWh battery as standard, no shorter range 79 kWh, or rear-wheel drive option like the Taycan here. The Quattro produces 469 bhp, or 523 bhp for a 2.5-second boost when you engage launch control, enough for 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.1 seconds and a top speed of 152 miles per hour too slow. The Rs gets 590 bhp or 637 bhp on overboost, making it the most powerful Rs model to date, albeit in brief bursts, capable of 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds, half a second slower than the Taycan Turbo S, and 1.3 seconds slower than the new Tesla Model S Plaid, and a top speed of 155 miles per hour, rib-crushingly quick, then, just not quite as sadistic as the Porsche. So, the Audi is being pitched as more of a rapid GT than a four-door sports car. Fast, but not as fast as the Porsche. That theory holds true when you get the measuring tape out, too. The Audi is a fraction longer, a little narrower and a few cm taller than the Taycan. There's a bit of extra boot space too, 405 liters in the back, another 81 in the nose. But in isolation you won't notice the difference. This is a low, long, wide, and lean-looking four-door that hoovers up attention wherever you go in it. Despite sharing its bones and gizzards with the Taycan, both cars won't be built in the same place. The e-tron GT will be assembled alongside the R8 at Audi's Neckarsulm factory, which puts a bit of a cap on the number it can build, initially at least. Audi reckons something in the high four figures a year is achievable, so roughly a 10,000 unit ceiling, compared to the 20,000 odd Taycan's Porsche flogged in 2020. A handsome four-door GT that plays to Audi's strengths, with a blistering turn of pace. The e-tron GT's real strength is it's not trying too hard to be a car from the future. It's simply a handsome four-door GT that plays to Audi's strengths, namely a high-quality interior, comfort, and usability, and a belting turn of pace that's more than worthy of the Rs badge. An electric powertrain fits the brand's aspirations as a tech leader, too, which means there won't be nearly as much fuss as when Porsche took the wraps off the Taycan. In a world where Tesla is claiming a 400, even 500-mile range on the latest Tesla Model S, the Audi's 300-mile range will still be a limiting factor for some, whether they need to cover big distances regularly or not. But it shouldn't be, because in every department this is a hugely impressive car, comfy enough to be a daily driver, but with face-melting acceleration in its locker, a practical four-door car, but with chiseled good looks. If the one sacrifice for accessing all that talent is planning your road trip routes carefully to incorporate some rapid charging, then it's a small sacrifice to make. Now for some bad news. There are no plans to offer a simpler, rear-wheel drive version like the Taycan, our current pick of the electric Porsche range, and no plans to follow the Taycan Cross Turismo with an Avant version of the e-tron GT. Disappointing, given Audi is the fast estate company, but there's plenty of time to change its mind. Is it better than a Taycan? It offers a fraction more comfort and space and a smidge less speed, but really the differences are minute. It'll come down to which brand you prefer and which body you're drawn to, and on that basis the e-tron GT is in with a shout of ruffling some feathers in Stuttgart. 3 Hyundai Ioniq 5. The first of a new family of all-electric cars from Hyundai. Expect smaller Ioniq 3s and 4s and a larger Ioniq 6 in the fullness of time. And expect those to be rather excellent machines, if this first effort is anything to go by. Nope, the Koreans have been quietly making decent electric cars for some time now. The old teardrop-shaped Ioniq was available as a pure EV, though most left the factory as mild hybrids, and for a few years now we've been seriously impressed by the Kona Electric, a small crossover which embarrasses the likes of an Audi e-tron and Jaguar I-Pace for battery range. Worthy as those cars are, Hyundai realized it wasn't going to get a foothold in the EV gold rush alongside the likes of the VW ID cars unless it wrapped up everything it had learned about going electric in a body that turned a few heads. And then dropped jaws into laps when we clapped eyes on the interior. And this is what makes the Ioniq 5 one of 2021's standout star cars. It's an EV you'll want to own just from clapping eyes on it, before the range and features seal the deal. This is easily the biggest head-turner among EVs right now. No fake grille, just a light motif that bleeds through the front trim. The front frown looks purposeful, the creased sides are brave, and the LED-festooned rear is pure Pixar movie robot. It's a tremendous piece of car design that somehow hits all the aero and pedestrian safety targets while looking like a cross between a DeLorean hot hatch and a prop from Blade Runner. Optical illusion, that. While the Ioniq 5 can appear in pictures to be the same size as the WEY Honda E and Fiat 500e, it's actually a large Range Rover Evoque-sized crossover masquerading as a family hatch. It rides on a new, bespoke Hyundai platform set to underpin a fleet of new EVs with the usual mix-and-match approach to front and rear motors and a skateboard slab of batteries under the floor. Hyundai's made a boon of that by giving the Ioniq 5 a raised seating position and an upright, airy glass house. So it feels spacious, and it's easy to place in town. Refreshingly simple, this. Take note, VW ID3, this is how to keep an EV trim lineup simple. The entry-level Ioniq 5 costs £36,995. The only propulsion option is a 168 bhp rear motor powered by a 58 kWh battery good for a claimed 238 miles of range. Go for the £39,000 middle trim and you have the option of a 73 kWh battery, upping range to 298 miles. Power is also boosted to 215 bhp. Or, you can go all out with a second motor up front, dropping range by 10% or in exchange for over 300 bhp, and 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds. On the near-dash £50k Ultimate trim level called, Ultimate, you still get the choice of all three powertrains, but Hyundai will tempt you with 20-inch rims, a head-up display, and the ability to use your car to power other electrical devices. Even other EVs? Seriously. A sensational-looking all-electric crossover that blurs boundaries, challenges the status quo, and makes us yearn for a Korean hatchback. That Hyundai is now confident enough to put a car as bold-looking as the Ioniq 5 on sale is impressive. But the fact this retro XXL hot hatch bodywork conceals one of the most complete family EVs money can buy is downright remarkable. If Hyundai can maintain this momentum behind the upcoming members of the Ioniq family, then the likes of VW's ID cars and even Mercedes's EQ clan ought to be extremely worried. By taking the punt that people are more likely to be converted to EV ownership if the car is desirable as an object and an experience, and gambling that there's more to life than the European players' softly don't offend anyone approach, Hyundai has built one of 2021's exceptional cars. Course, we said much the same about BMW's Brave i3, and that pretty much sunk as a business case. Whoops. Here's hoping beyond the pre-order hype, Hyundai's onto something here. The future of semi-interesting family motoring could depend upon it. 2 Tesla Model 3. The Tesla Model 3 is an American 4-door saloon car with rear or 4-wheel drive, seating for 5 people at a pinch, and a touchscreen inside. Sure, it's all electric, but it hardly sounds a verified big deal, does it? But the Tesla Model 3 is one of the most important big deals of the 21st century so far. This is Tesla's affordable entry-level car, designed to take on the best-selling likes of the BMW 3 Series, Audi A4, and Mercedes C-Class, not to mention their slow-off-the-mark electric cousins. And thanks to Tesla's viral, household name status and the ambition of the car's features, the Model 3 has become a phenomenon. It sits below the Model S Saloon in the range, and in standard guise is priced from £48,490. That gets you rear-wheel drive, and a claimed 305 miles of range between visits to a public supercharger, or your home wall box. Above that in the three pecking order lie two all-wheel drive versions, the long range, good for up to 374 miles, and the performance, which sacrifices a few miles of range but will outrun a Lamborghini Huracan up to the national speed limit. Something for everyone, then. These model lines are correct at the time of writing, December 2022, but Tesla has a habit of creating and killing off trim levels willy-nilly, here today, gone tomorrow. And the price has long since crept away from the mid-£30K target once vaunted. Not that it stopped the Model 3 becoming Britain's best-selling electric car in 2020. As per all Teslas, and most electric cars, the Model 3 is powered by a slab of lithium-ion battery cells mounted in the car's floor, where they're best protected from a crash and helpfully low to keep the center of gravity in check. That means you get a second boot, frunk or fruit, choose your front-biased cargo bay term, in the nose, which is handy for stowing mucky charging cables. Chances are you'll have heard fragments of what makes Tesla so interesting floating around the internet. Giant touchscreens, funny Easter egg content like games and built-in Netflix, and something about them being able to drive themselves while you take a nap or watch Tiger King. Let's get on with saluting Tesla for the truth in that, and dispelling the myths the Californian brand's cult-like following would have you believe. The most impressive electric car this side of a Porsche Taycan. Fresh design, a sense of humor, and backed up by superchargers. Posed against po-faced competitors, Teslas are invariably the quick ones, the efficient ones, the fun ones with fart mode, and the lucky ones least dependent on a haphazard charging ecosystem. Even a basic version with a single rearward motor and only chill/sport acceleration settings develops 235 bhp and punches to 60 miles per hour faster than a 55,000 pounds Jaguar F-Type. While the Angry Frog styling won't be to all tastes, the interior is a real love/hate arrangement, and the driving dynamics aren't all that memorable once you've stopped swallowing your tongue every time you nail the throttle. It's easy to see why the Model 3 has become a global standard setter for EVs. This is the future we were promised, a car with sentience, a sense of humor, and a fresh take on the old norms. After trying this, your old Repmobile will feel positively Brunelian. The Model 3 was Top Gear's 2019 Saloon of the Year, beating the old guard and maintaining its lead of the new EV pretenders. It's been in production since mid-2017, but even heading into middle age, nothing on the market has yet managed to beat the Model 3 on all fronts. While not without flaws, it is quite simply one of the most interesting, compelling cars in the world right now. Porsche Taycan. This is Porsche's first all-electric car, previewed by the Mission E concept way back in 2015. Let's get a couple of things out the way first. Despite Porsche's titanic engineering efforts in moving electric car tech forwards, and as I shall attempt to explain, the Taycan is still an electric car. That means it still comes with limitations, namely range, 280 miles for the turbo if you drive like a learner, charging time, 5 to 80% in 22.5 minutes if you can find one of the comparatively few DC chargers in Europe capable of delivering 270 kilowatts, and weight, 2.3 tons. Stefan Weckbach, the man tasked with delivering the Taycan, predicts that when solid-state batteries come on stream in the next couple of years, you'll be able to buy a Taycan with the same power output and range as this one, but 400 kilograms lighter. For now, the Taycan is at the very pointy end of what's possible. It's also not as fast to 0 to 62 miles per hour, doesn't go as far on a charge, and costs more than a Tesla Model S Plaid. Thank you Teslarati for pointing that out once every 14 seconds since the Taycan was launched. But numbers aren't everything. Weckbach insists that while he's driven every EV on the market, the only benchmark that mattered was making it drive as much like a 911 as possible. Aim for the moon and all that. So, starting from a very blank piece of paper in mid-2014, this is what Porsche has come up with. Based on same J1 platform as the Audi e-tron GT, the Taycan comes in many flavors. First is the plain old Taycan, which is rear-wheel drive and has a 79 kWh battery slung between the two axles. The Taycan 4s adds another e-motor on the front axle for all-wheel drive and gets a bit more power, but the same battery. Meanwhile the Taycan Turbo and Turbo S get yet more power and a chunky 93 kWh battery. Said battery can be added to the normal Taycan or 4s for a little under £5,000. Atop the skateboard chassis, with Panamera-esque suspension and, optionally, four-wheel steering, is draped a four-door, four-seat body. Narrow of canopy and wide of hip, it's designed to fill the white space beneath the larger Panamera and Panamera Sport Turismo. It's a handsome shape, more stretched 911 than shrunken Panamera. You can dress up to the point of invisibility with dark blue paint and silver wheels, or shout quite loudly with 5 spokers framed by a body-colored rim, inspired by Mission E concept, or 21-inch fan wheels in carbon or body color, or gold. But don't take my word for it, proceed to the configurator forthwith and kiss goodbye to productivity for the day. Since it first arrived on the 911 in 1974, Turbo has become a sub-brand, denoting the fastest models in every model line. Porsche didn't want its EV to get any special treatment. That's also why it's called Taycan, a typical Porsche-ish name, rather than Mission E. Stuttgart's first EV is a proper Porsche, massively fast, great to drive, quick to charge and practical enough to use every day. The Taycan can absolutely entertain on the right road and is a delight to cruise in, a GT with the heart of a sports car. More importantly, it's a proper Porsche that just happens to run on electricity. Truly, this is great news for anyone that loves fast cars. Electric cars are coming whether we like it or not, and the performance, range, and handling balance is only going to improve from here. Porsche isn't being shy about embracing electricity. The Taycan Cross Turismo Estate and slightly sleeker Taycan Sport Turismo are superb additions to the lineup, while a fully electric Macan is due in 2023. All electric replacements for the Boxster and Cayman, plus electric versions of Cayenne and Panamera, are also in the pipeline. In that order. One note from us, Porsche, please do everything you can to keep the 911 petrol powered. The rest can go electric, no problem, but just imagine still being able to buy a new petrol-fueled 911 in 20 years' time. It's the beating heart of the brand, yes, even though more Taycans were shifted worldwide in 2021, and it'll feel as unique and daring as the Taycan does now. As for which Taycan you want, the regular rear-wheel drive car is probably the sweet spot of Taycan DOM. Yep, this is still topgear.com, and we're recommending the slowest version. Simply because it isn't in any way slow, and because you now feel like you're getting a real bargain. This interior knocks Tesla's design and build quality into a cocked hat, and ridding the front wheels of having to transmit drive to the road results in world-class steering and a genuinely crisp, enjoyable balance. Madness, how that's been achieved in a 2.1-ton barge. And yet, this is probably the most complete EV on the planet.